Underneath, stayed patient, and just checked it down.
We saw Texas attack Vanderbilt outside the numbers repeatedly. Williams, and he breaks free into the end zone for a 20-yard touchdown run.
And we say good morning to you. Happy Thanksgiving weekend on this Tuesday, November the 26th. Buddy Songy in the house opening up Tigers Roar. Jonathan Poche back behind the glass taking care of all of the buttons from all of us at Pelican Sports TV and radio. We wish you and yours a happy and blessed Thanksgiving week. And thank goodness I don't have to have these sunglasses on. LSU has beaten Vanderbilt. It should have been by more, but you can't get greedy. You get the dub, and Tigers back on the winning streak, of course, wrapping up their season finale against Oklahoma. And OU is a team that I thought would be beat up and running on empty, and yet exactly the opposite. Their first year in the conference, they have had a very tough schedule, and they just dump trucked Alabama 24-3 last weekend in Norman, Oklahoma. It is their first trip ever to Tiger Stadium. Most of you know that, or should know, Brian Kelly is 14-1 as the head coach at LSU under the lights in Tiger Stadium, and this is going to start at 6 o'clock. Once again, Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kubelik will be the broadcasters giving you the call as LSU wraps it up, the final regular season game of the year. Tigers win. They're 8-4. They lose 7-5. You know that historically you want to finish on a good note. And without further ado, we've got a lot of tidbits. By the way, you saw the highlight of Josh Williams getting a couple of touchdowns. Great storyline to see him play well. Will Campbell played outstanding. Nussmeier played his best game of the year. And JP, it was finally good to see the Tigers, A, get back with a win, but B, get back with some semblance of offense and productivity, although they still have to work on inside the red zone. But probably should have been more, but as we know, Vanderbilt has played hard, 24-17 victory. Happy Thanksgiving week for you, and how are you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Well, thank you, Bud, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and as well as everybody out there watching, both on Pelican Sports Network and on the YouTube channel. Once again, that's youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. Certainly happy to have you along with us over on the page. If you haven't done so already, click the like, the notification, and the subscription button. It certainly helps us with the algorithm, and you get notified every time we post something new right there at youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. Bud, man, hit the nail on the head. LSU gets off the schneid. Did not lose 4 in a row for the first time in forever. Coach Brian Kelly had a rough week. They lose the commitment of Bryce Underwood, who flips from LSU to Michigan. There's rumors going around that it costs $12 million to get the number 1 overall high school recruit to stay home and fight for the Wolverines. So tough week for Coach Brian Kelly. There were some fire Kelly chants that started this past weekend in Tiger Stadium, but LSU does get the much-needed win behind, you mentioned it. Garrett Nussmeier had his best game, only threw 1 touchdown, but had total control of the offense. Got to feel happy for Josh Williams, 90 yards on 14 carries, did the 2 touchdowns. Still also caught the ball 4 times, Bud, man. So senior night coming up this weekend against Oklahoma. You mentioned it, a team that couldn't really run the ball all season in the SEC, but rushed the ball for 52 times, over 250 yards. Quarterback at over 100 yards rushing. So LSU, it doesn't get any easier to end the season. There are no gimmies in the SEC, but Oklahoma with that running quarterback, LSU has to stay in that 4-3 in my opinion. I thought Whit Weeks played really well this past game. Of course, it wasn't the running caliber, the caliber of running quarterback that LSU saw in Milroe. But take your hats off to the quarterback for Vanderbilt. Played tough. You mentioned the score, 21-10. Could have been more for LSU, but took care of business. Coach Brian Kelly, who you will hear from later on in this show, said he was really proud of the way his team handled accountability this past week in practice and in coaching. And he said the young players can look towards those veteran guys. That 21 senior veteran group to know how to really conduct themselves week in and week out. That's when special teams can be had, when players hold each other accountable. So, yeah, looking for that 9th win, Bud, man, in the season. Got to knock off Oklahoma. Got to take care of business in the bowl game. Because Brian Kelly is still a lot ahead. He said in this press conference he will be very aggressive in the transfer portal. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more here on this episode of Tigers Roar.
All right, let's address this first thing, and it's kind of embarrassing to address it. You know, we always talk about this, folks. The IQ of this state is not in the upper ratings where you are proud of. But the FQ, the football quotient, usually is appreciably higher than the IQ, but not in this case. I know you get frustrated. I know you get the screaming Reds. I know you get PO'd and all those emotions that you go through when LSU loses 3 in a row. But quit embarrassing everybody when you open your mouth and say, let's fire Brian Kelly. It's not going to happen. Not even close to being a reality. He has close to $67 or whatever $1 million left. And it's not just that. These assistants that come in don't come in on 1-year deals. They come in on 3-year deals. So you're talking about another 30 or 40 million. Then you throw in this incredible recruiting class that they have that we know the pen gets put to the paper next Wednesday, and it'll be a top 5 class. So all of that momentum, I think he's lost in very old school on offense. Got to get better with play calling. Got to get better with getting their guys in space. Defensively, Blake Baker made big steps, and you hope that they do the same thing because Jackson Arnold is a really good quarterback. He's going to put pressure on that defense with the run-pass option. But, JP, it's almost embarrassing when you hear everybody. I'm coming out of church Monday morning, and a prominent businessman who I will not call out says, "Oh, I want to buy him out, Bud, man." Oh, really? How much you going to put up for the coffers? It's not going to happen. It's not a reality. BK's got at least 2 more years here, and if you don't like his personality, you don't like his arrogance, you don't like his stubbornness, tough. It's Thanksgiving week, and he's not going anywhere. So you just soon support him. These recruits see it. Everybody in the country already dislikes Brian Kelly. The state of Louisiana and LSU fan base certainly doesn't have to get into that number, but just right out of the gate, it's not happening. So if you're that upset, then quit watching or go eat a soap sandwich like my mama used to say. But, JP, it's only natural. It happens everywhere. Look, people are freaking out on Caleb DeBoer with Alabama. Paul Feinbaum is going to once again lead the charge. Everybody's going crazy because they've lost 3 games. The SEC has never been any stronger. Yep. But I cringe when I hear this silly talk because whether you want to hear it or not, the reality, the honesty, and the whole scoop is that LSU doesn't have the money to make that decision. Yep. And, oh, by the way, 10 in 1 year, 10 in 2 years, if he gets to this win Saturday, and it's certainly not a foregone conclusion, and a bowl game, 9 wins, 29 wins. Has he won the big game? Yeah, he beat Bama in 2022. And he's beaten Ole Miss a couple of times when they've been top 10 teams in Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly's record against top 10 teams in Baton Rouge is 3-1. And the one loss, of course, was that Tennessee game. The Bama game was not a top 10 loss because Bama was number 11 in the rankings. So embrace him. I'm not saying you got to go crazy about him, but he's your coach and he's not going anywhere. And so Nuss got a little bit of the booze. BK got to fire BK, and they were upset about it after the game. But this is the reality. LSU fans are spoiled and expect a lot. And, oh, by the way, Scott Woodward has got him locked in on a long-time contract. So it's not snap your fingers and it gets done. It just doesn't happen that way. So the reality, JP, is that whether you embrace him or not, he's going to be there for at least a couple more years. And if he can get some better talent in here, which they can do with this recruiting class and in 26 class, they got a chance to get better. But will he ever win an SEC championship or national championship? That remains to be seen. But more so than anything, I think there's been a little disappointment, JP, for the fan base on what's been accomplished in year 3.
Yeah, and I think the disappointment also stems to the players. And you look at the Saints, and the New Orleans Saints absolutely quit on their head coach. They knew Dennis Allen was going to get fired. There was no more want. There was no more effort. There was no more desire to win bowl games. This is not the case with LSU. These players absolutely do believe in Brian Kelly. It's proof is in the pudding. They really had every excuse to roll over and play dead and not really finish out this season strong, and it really put pressure on that head coach. That wasn't the case. We saw last week in that LSU game a confrontation between Chris Hilton and Brian Kelly about it made national news, and Brian Kelly was screaming, and the camera caught him, and he said he had to be coachable and don't walk away from me and all that. Chris Hilton could have buried his head and quit on the team, but that was not the case at all. That kid absolutely wants to fight for the purple and gold. He wants to make plays desperately for the Tigers, and the players have not quit, Bud, man. They still have a lot of pride in the program and what they're able to do. They believe each week that they can go out there and compete if they accomplish or execute the way that they know how. And I thought about this on the way over, Bud, man. And why did LSU lose 3 ball games? 3 ball games that, and honestly, they probably should have won or at least been much more competitive towards the end. And I was sitting in traffic on the spillway, Bud, man, sitting behind 3 cars that all had Texas license plates. If 3 people from Texas can mess up the entire spillway, it really just takes one player not doing his job on any particular play to cause a big bust. And we did see better execution against Vanderbilt. I thought it was LSU's best total game in all 3 phases of the game, but still did see a couple of busts for big plays. One led for a touchdown. So it's not going to be perfect. It's still, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids that are now being introduced to a life-changing money in college. So still trying to adapt to the landscape. You heard Coach Brian Kelly say numerous times he wants to build this program through the high school recruits, and he still wants to do that. He's got a bunch of midseason enrollees coming in as freshmen, but going to attack this transfer portal because you remember last year they built this defensive line really using very minimal resources. Didn't want to pay a lot, $2-3 million for transfers from TCU. So they have a lot of room in the air quotes around cap to do some things in the transfer portal, and this team could be very exciting next year. So don't jump off the ship. You got to be patient with Coach Brian Kelly. Still trying to navigate not only SEC but this entire new landscape of college football, and really the whole SEC as a conference is dealing with the same things. You look at Ole Miss, you look at Oklahoma, Alabama, these perennial powerhouses, losing even Georgia losing multiple games in the year. So a lot of football still left on Brian Kelly here in Baton Rouge. So like you said. Baton Rouge, LSU fans need to be patient, need to embrace our coach and give him the support that he truly needs to build this brand into what all LSU fans and players want it to be.
I've got a lot of different takes, and I'm going to give you a different take. I'll tell you that. We'll go to a break after that, come back and discuss it. But believe it or not, we have not discussed this, and everybody knows that Bryce Underwood, the best quarterback in the country, number 1 player in the country, did decommit from LSU and is committed all in for Michigan. JP mentioned it, whether it be Portnoy and Larry Ellison, who owns Oracle, all of their rich donors and alumni. Ellison, of course, I don't know if that's his wife or girlfriend who was a Michigan fan, but they made a concerted effort, incredible money, upwards of over $11 million, maybe even $12 million for that. But when I come back, I'm going to tell you why it's not such a bad thing that Bryce Underwood ended up going to Michigan. We'll tell you that much more on Tigers Roar when we come back right here on Pelican Sports TV right before Thanksgiving. Have a great one. Have a blessed one. Back right after this on Tigers Roar and Pelican Sports TV.
If you're ready for a new car that's designed to take you where you want to go, whenever you want to go, now's the time to find out all there is to know about the new Mazda CX-50, named an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus award winner. Save on your new Mazda right now at Team Mazda on Airline.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Visit Treads & Care Tire Company's new location on Hooper Road in Central. Locally owned for over 50 years, Treads & Care is known for quality automotive repair and top-notch customer service.
I'd like to invite you to come out and see us at our new location in Central.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
And we welcome you back to Tigers Roar. Buddy Songy in the house. Behind the glass, Jonathan Poche. He's usually the co-host, the host, and I'm usually the analyst. We reverse roles with our new setup over here at Tigers Roar. And JP, here's what I'm thinking about this morning. And God bless you coming over here every day on the Causeway and working with us. It's not easy to travel back and forth. JP does a great job, does it for the love of it, certainly not for the coins that he's making. And here's my deal. Speaking of coins, JP, all that money that LSU was going to give Bryce Underwood now can be redistributed. And when he decommitted, Derek Meadows, the guy from Vegas, big 6'5" receiver, didn't have a great year, has decided to follow him to Michigan. There might be one or so others that don't follow through with their commitment. But DJ Pickett's a big 5-star corner. They need him desperately. Cade Phillips, a big 5-star corner. He's going to come in and sign next week. Pickett is coming in again this weekend. They've got others. A big offensive lineman from the state of Florida came in last weekend. But here's my deal, JP. I think the reality of it is that BK realized, and Jonathan, I don't think the casual fan realizes, when he took this job, you didn't have all this money and you didn't have this free transfer portal everywhere. The landscape has changed. You don't have a program. You have a team each and every year. But I think the best thing about losing Underwood when it happened is that now they can assess, okay, who do we need to belly up more money with and keep? Because as we know, you don't want to call it pay for play, but a lot of these guys want to get a competitive deal to come over here, and it's moving more and more into NFL light, semi-pro, or however you want to call it with college football right now, JP.
Yeah, Bud, man, you made a lot of great points, and freeing up that whatever it was going to be between $5.5 and $10 million that we're going to have to pay for Bryce Underwood, that certainly does give you a lot more room to improve your entire roster. And we've seen at times at LSU not very deep at a lot of positions, especially in the secondary. You mentioned Pickens. That's a must-have for this LSU football team moving forward. A great 2025 class. Lots of talent in 26 class, especially in Louisiana. So just have to recruit the base, recruit the state well, and Coach Brian Kelly can stay competitive. But, yeah, you free up that money. You have money to pay. Sadly, it is pay for play. Pay a lot of other players to come to LSU. Also, something that not everybody's talking about. If Bryce Underwood does come to LSU, puts a little pressure on Garrett Nussmeier to make that decision whether he goes to the pros or not. I think this gives him a little more breathing room to say, okay, now I got to take my time, make the right decision for me. Absolutely think Nuss should come back for his last season here at LSU. A guy that waited his turn, a guy that's having a better first year than Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow had at LSU. So the sky's the limit. He's still trying to figure it out, still trying to figure out that offense, get his feet wet with pressures and pickups and how to scoot the line over. And look, it's all an evolving process. Still has a lot of football ahead of him. But, yeah, I agree with you with the money, and I also think this helps Nuss make the decision to come back to LSU. So I'm not really brokenhearted about Bryce Underwood committing to Michigan. This whole, courting process, he was all on board for LSU. The offer got up to publicly $10.5 million. The next day, he posted something on his Instagram. When that happened, I thought maybe this kid's just trying to leverage the deal, leverage his commitment to LSU to get more money. Sure enough, they bump it to almost $12 million is the rumor. And for an 18-year-old kid, $12 million is life-changing money for him and his family. He always said money was the last thing he was going to think about for his recruitment, and that might have been true. But once that number gets to be that high, you can't really fault a kid for staying home and playing for the flagship program of Michigan with all the pressure from the peers and the family and everything else in the donors. So, but man, great point, and I agree with you that freeing up that cap space certainly allows LSU to bolster their entire roster instead of just focusing all those resources on one player.
The original deal, I think, with Bryce Underwood was like $1.5 million for 3 years, which is $4.5 million, and LSU did go appreciably higher. But now you can take care of and listen, folks, if you pay in the quarterback $2.5 million a year, and now you got a left tackle and a right tackle who are only making a couple $100,000 a year, it becomes problematic with the culture in the locker room. That all being said, I'll let you have some tidbits, and I'll give you some good stuff here. You mentioned Nuss, JP. I think it is imperative that Garrett Nussmeier comes back, A, for the quarterback room at LSU, but B, he's not ready. And I think we've all seen this. The biggest thing that he's got to continue to improve on is ball security, making a decision, stepping up in the pocket and running and getting a little bit of that green grass to a first down or whatever. And let's get right into some of these highlights as Josh Williams starts it off. Great to see 18 have the kind of game. He looked faster, bigger, and stronger than he did earlier in the year, this game, JP.
Yeah, best game of the year for Josh Williams in all three phases, running the football, catching the football, also pass pro. He was exceptional. Great way to finish out his LSU career as we look forward to a senior day against Oklahoma this Saturday.
Once again, Josh Williams going to find the end zone here, and so 2 rushing touchdowns, almost 100 yards. He looked leaner, he looked faster, and he looked hungry. He's one of the guys, along with Will Campbell, led the players-only meeting last week, JP.
Yeah, and Coach Brian Kelly really gave credit to Garrett Nussmeier and getting the right fits with that single running back system that LSU runs. And here's Garrett Nussmeier, drops back. He knew Kyron Lacy was open in that end zone, just waited for him to open up a little bit. Great throw on a run. Kyron Lacy not going to catch an easier one this season. Touchdown for number 2.
Lacy is the guy that LSU fans love and they hate. 9 drops on the year, 2 more in this game, including a touchdown, but he did hold on to that and also the one in overtime against Ole Miss. So he's going to have to work on that at the next level. Good to see Nuss also checked down to backs out of the backfield. Yeah. Josh Williams with 4 receptions for about 61 yards receiving. Here we go. Once again, Pavia got beat up all night long. JP, Blake Baker did a great job. And there, of course, is Major Burns, as always, showing a lot of mustard on his hot dog.
Yeah, but, man, it was really good for the defense. This Vanderbilt team was talented. They have a couple big wins on the season, but LSU really had to get off the schneid, and it started with that run game and the offensive line dominate that line of scrimmage. But defense played well, but, man, didn't have any breakdowns. A couple busts led for big plays, but only up 10 points to a very talented Vanderbilt team who had all the belief that they were going to go into Tiger Stadium and win. Even after the game, the Commodores wanted to smoke with the Tigers, and they had a chip on their shoulder. So did LSU. They matched the intensity, even surpassed it, succeeded it. And good win for the Tigers and good win for Josh Williams. Happy for him to have some success, like you mentioned, leading that players-only meeting last week.
All right, a couple of more positive tidbits. Brian Kelly yesterday at the Monday press conference intimated that C.J. Daniels is likely to come back. He's the best blocking wide receiver that they have. They hadn't got him into the end zone. Let's see if this kid can get a touchdown before the end of the regular season. So I'm calling for it right now. Number 4 scores his first touchdown. He had one earlier in the game. And the aforementioned Kyron Lacy had a pass interference call on him to negate that touchdown. But I'd love to see C.J. Daniels get in the end zone Saturday night. And, of course, coming back. Nuss, I just don't think Nuss. And, look, Mel Kiper's had him up in the top 5. Mel Kiper is as old as me, and his opinion means about as much as mine. It's not going to happen. Nuss is not highly ranked. JP, I had before the year 31 touchdowns and 11 INTs. He's sitting at 23-11. Once again, got to do a better job with ball security, got to do a better job with poise, and I think the NFL wants to see more than 1 year to know if you're going to get the big bucks. Look, he could come back, have a great year, and be drafted in the first round. You're hoping that Big 5-0 loves his mama and those big hamburgers, but you're hoping that Emory Jones will consider coming back. He's a junior. I think Will Campbell is rightfully going to leave and be a first-round pick. But the other thing that was so positive is that Brian Kelly, for the first time, admitted they're going to be very, very aggressive in the transfer portal. And to me, JP, just off the top of my head, you need a punter. Oh, my goodness, some of this punting this year has been atrocious. You need a center because DJ Chester, if he stays there or not, needs a backup. You need another tackle with Will Campbell and the other guys leaving. You need corners, even though you got the 2 5-stars coming back. And safeties, to me, are the biggest concern. I'm a little disappointed that Deshaun Spears, Javian Toviano, and Kylan Jackson have not gotten more PT. So you got to shore those things up. But the fact that he said they're going to be much more aggressive in the transfer portal, I think is a big positive for the Tiger fan base, JP.
Yeah, but, man, he didn't say it was going to be aggressive. They said they were going to have one of the largest transfer portal classes this offseason. So, he was asked about, were they going to bring another quarterback because, Bryce Underwood had decommitted. And look, don't forget, Colin Hurley, Ricky Collins, still on the roster, along with A.J. Swan and Garrett Nussmeier, who all have more eligibility to play. So the quarterback room, is assuming Nussmeier comes back, going to be in good shape. Lots of other areas. You mentioned the secondary, those safeties. In my opinion, the most glaring need for this LSU team. We're waiting to see what Spears is going to turn into, but got to get some more players, got to get some experience to help that secondary. Of course, you're losing Zy Alexander, the transfer from Southeastern Louisiana. He's a senior. You're going to lose Burns and Ryan and Swinson and Shand on the edge. So, lots of needs. Going to open up some opportunities for some young kids. And LSU, I mean, the brand is still strong, but, man, you look at all the celebrities and stars they had to choose from when College Game Day came to LSU. They ended up going with Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn, but they had a plethora of stars they could have picked. And you looked at the NFL, and you have Chase and Jefferson leading the NFL in receiving yards. And there's no fall off of LSU from 2019. It's been a few years. We thought, because Brian Kelly would have more success here in year 3 because Ed Ogeron and Les Miles both won championships in year 3. But like you said, it's not the same college landscape, not even the SEC, as it was just 6 years ago. And you have to have faith that Coach Brian Kelly is going to, have those meetings with the recruits. It's going to be him, Frank Wilson, Austin Thomas. They're going to meet with these young kids and try to sell to their families the vision of a future where they can graduate champions. It's not all about football, but obviously football is a huge part of it. These freshmen now want to come in. They want to play right away, so it's tough. It's tough to get kids to sit and wait their turn like Garrett Nussmeier did for the quarterback spot. So lots of money being exchanged to these young kids who are now making choices for them and their families. A lot of them have young kids, so want to do the best with it for right now, not necessarily the future. So still trying to navigate it. Got to keep the faith, Bud, man, and got to close out this year strong with a win against Oklahoma on Saturday.
Did a little early research on Oklahoma. They are not the same team that they were 2-3 weeks ago. Look, they had a bunch of injuries. JP, they were running the ball for a little over 100 yards the first 7-8 games. The last 4 or 5 games, they ran it over 226 yards per game. Jackson Arnold ran it 25 times against Alabama. Can you believe it? I'm watching both teams in both games while LSU's playing Vandy, and OU and Alabama are on ESPN, and LSU's on SEC Network at about 25 minutes after the start. I'm watching both teams. Every time I turned into OU and Alabama, Milrose getting sacked, throwing an INT. Yep. They had a pick 6. They had 3 takeaways and really minimized his ability to hurt the other team with his legs. And then Jackson Arnold was possessed. He's running over people, running for 20, 30-yard scampers. Once again, in case you missed it, it's going to be a trifecta. Now, if you were saying, like me, who's that skinny number 33 playing, that is Wes Weeks. Wes Weeks is going to come back for one more year next week. Everybody knows Whit Weeks, number 40, playing well, and now his brother Zach Weeks reclassified, so he's going to be signing in this class. JP, I don't ever remember three brothers playing on LSU's team at the same time. I know there's been a couple, but I don't know if there's been three. Obviously, everybody knows about Jordan Rickey and Justin Jefferson, but at the same time, I don't know if that's happened before. But the good news on the recruiting front with the younger Weeks, but good news to see Wes Weeks. And, of course, as we know, as you alluded to, 21 seniors being honored. But I do think a couple of those guys are going to come back if LSU makes the I guess you could say, the pot right.
Yeah, but, man, what about the Ferguson brothers, the long snappers? Were there three of the Fergusons?
No, they only had two.
Okay, gotcha.
So, hey, let's take a quick time out. When we come back, I'll let you hear from the coach, Brian Kelly, on what he had to say on his Monday press conference. Real quick, 6 o'clock Saturday night, it's going to be cold. In case you haven't heard, after Thanksgiving turkey, it's going to start to drop Thursday night. Going to be in the 50s at the start, maybe even the lower 50s at the end of that game Saturday night. So bundle up, get ready, bring your hot chocolate, eat those Manda products. We are the official smoked sausage of LSU Athletics. Enjoy them at the stadium or outside the stadium. Back with BK on a Tuesday edition right here at Tigers Roar on Pelican Sports TV.
Tremonti's has meat, Tremonti's has seafood, Tremonti's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters, huge wine and liquor selection, beer and all the spices you need, Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats, ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs, 20 flavors of sausage for the grill, daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tremonti's.com.
Few things in life are as valuable as family and peace of mind, especially when it comes to your final arrangements, and that's where Lee Serio can help. His prepaid funeral plans make sure your life will be remembered exactly the way you want it to. With Lee Serio, no detail is too large or too small. Call Lee or his wife Gretchen at 225-315-6329. Let Lee Serio give you and your family the peace of mind you all deserve.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
It's game time at Team Toyota. Whether you're tailgating or heading into the stadium, dominate the road and drive like a champion in your new Toyota. Get off the sidelines and save thousands at Team Toyota, I-12 at O'Neill. Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL.
Treads & Care Tire Company announces its new location on Hooper Road in Central. Locally owned for 50 years, Treads & Care is known for quality automotive repair with top-notch customer service. Treads & Care offers the convenience of shuttle service and pickup and delivery of your vehicle. You can also enjoy the comfortable customer area, complete with workstations, high-speed internet, and a complimentary coffee bar.
I'd like to invite you to come out and see us at our new location in Central.
Treads & Care, the tires you need and the service you want.
Appreciate all of our great sponsors over here at Tigers Roar and Pelican Sports TV. JP and myself, Buddy Songy, talking about the craziness of the SEC. JP, biggest upset this weekend, biggest surprise. OU taking Oklahoma out back and dominating them 24-3. Lane Kiffin, excuse me, sinuses choking again. He's a great coach on Twitter. He's a great guy to listen to and brag about popcorn and all that. 0 championships in his career, and yet some idiot fans at LSU, we want Kiffin. He's never won anything, and he chokes again. And then, of course, Texas A&M. Nick Saban said that Auburn and, of course, that place, look, you've been there before, JP. You know it's a great place to play football, and they win in overtime, 3 overtimes or whatever it was. So A&M loses now, has 3 losses. Ole Miss has 3 losses. Alabama has 3 losses. They've got Alabama on the edge. Don't forget another CFP rating show tonight. But, JP, biggest surprise of those three juggernauts losing this weekend?
To me, it was Oklahoma beating Alabama. After what Alabama did to LSU, I thought they were just going to steamroll Oklahoma, who you mentioned. I thought they were going to be beat up. They weren't able to run the football really all season, but they really committed to it, stuck with it. Slowed the game down, ran the ball over 50 times and had 250 yards rushing. The quarterback had 100 yards. And no disrespect to the quarterback, but I did not think that Arnold would be able to do that against the Crimson Tide defense. Of course, you mentioned Ole Miss and Florida and Coach Billy Napier. That was also a surprise to me. Not that I thought that Florida was a bad team. Of course, they just beat LSU the week prior. But Ole Miss had everything to play for. This was going to be the year that Lane Kiffin proved that he could win the big game, at least make it to the playoff. Didn't happen, bud, man. Billy Napier, at least off the hot seat for at least one season, I think, in Gainesville, Florida. So that was a surprise, but nothing bigger than Oklahoma knocking off the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Jordan-Hare Stadium is a tough place to play. Of course, Alabama plays the Iron Bowl. Ironic that Kiffin has egg on his face because they're playing the Egg Bowl. LSU and Oklahoma. Let's get right into it. Brian Kelly at his Monday press conference getting you ready for LSU, Oklahoma, 6 o'clock. Once again, ESPN. Going to be cold. Oklahoma's the real deal, playing really well right now. Here's BK.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, we'll start off with just a recap of Saturday's game against Vanderbilt. Certainly was happy for our players and their resolve, their ability to bounce back, whatever you want to say, relative to their mindset. I think is what I was most proud of, and how they thought about the week, the game, and they played very well. Garrett Nussmeier played his best game of the year. We were balanced on offense. We had one negative play, whereas the week before we had 14 negative plays. We were much more efficient on first down, which led to very favorable second down situations for us. So it played itself out well from an offensive standpoint with balance and running the football. Josh Williams was outstanding in that game, catching the football out of the backfield, blocking, running the football with a great demeanor. Will Campbell was outstanding, played his best game individually on the offensive line. And we got other really good performances. I thought DJ Chester probably played his best game of the year. So all in all, from that perspective on the offense, and then defensively, we had one misfit on a run play where they were able to get an explosive play, and then we had a chance to make a play on a pass down the field where we were in cover two. We just didn't make the play. So a couple of explosive plays, but really did a nice job controlling the flow of the game, limiting Pavia's production, and again, I think going against a team that's well coached and had a really good win against Alabama, we're pleased with the outcome. So looking back at it, Caden Durham leads all freshmen in the SEC with rushing. We've got 3 players with over 50 receptions. Nuss is second in the SEC in passing touchdowns, total offense, and touchdowns. And, I know it's not sometimes you look at some of the sexier stats, but Damian Ramos set a school record for consecutive PATs, now at 121. And that should not get overlooked. So a much-needed win, but a win that our players really took full accountability during the week, led, and when you have a team that leads from the inside out, you see that performance on the field. So we'll continue to work on that this week and look to duplicate that against an Oklahoma team coming off a great win against Alabama. This is their first game in Tiger Stadium, and a team that presents a number of different challenges. They ran the ball extremely well this past weekend. Jackson Arnold, I think, is an outstanding quarterback. He can throw it, but rushed for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rushed for 131 yards on 25 carries. So, I think everybody here knows our history with the quarterbacks that run the football. That will be a challenge for us. They have an offensive line that is coming together and a defense that, as you know, Coach Venables is the longtime defensive coordinator at Clemson before he became the head coach at Oklahoma, and just does a great job. I got a chance to go against him several times at Clemson, and they mix things up. They make things complicated. They give you a multitude of different looks. It's a good front. Danny Stutzman is an All-American linebacker. So this would be a great way to finish off the regular season with a team that's coming in off of a great win. Both teams looking to finish the season strong. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
Coach, right here, you mentioned after the game on Saturday that you saw a lot of maturity from the younger players. Can you talk a little bit about that and just what does it mean to have a guy like Josh Williams and Will Campbell and these guys who've really kind of set the tone and how important that is going forward for this program?
Yeah, look, as I said, right, when players decide that they're going to lead from the inside out, it's also about, those actions become mirror actions for the younger players. They see how that's done. So when you get a Trades Green or you get a Caden Durham, and they see how that's done, that modeling takes effect, and you can see that, through the week. There are times where you wish that happened earlier, right, where those guys got up and were vocal. But I think they were growing and learning as well in terms of how to be leaders. But clearly, when you have veterans like that step up, it affects the younger players because they see how it's done, and they want it to be recognized as well. So their efforts were recognized by the way that they practiced this past week.
Hey, Coach, what defensive challenges does Oklahoma present, especially after this last game, how they shut down Alabama?
Yeah, so, they have a new offensive coordinator. As you know, they made a change in the offensive coordinator position earlier in the year, and it really changed the dynamics of the offense. The offense is now, it was averaging close to 85, 90 plays a game. I think they've had 62 plays their last 2 games. So it is a ball control offense. Jackson Arnold is an outstanding quarterback. He can throw it extremely well. But this is now much more about controlling the football, running the football, playing with physicality. They've got perimeter skill. But I think it's centered around much more of a run-centric quarterback run and take care of the football. They had turned it over quite a bit. I think they might have been near the bottom of the country in terms of fumbles. And so I think they wanted to clean that up. And so you're seeing a much more controlled offensive structure now than you did earlier in the year.
Hey, Coach. We saw Harold Perkins at the game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Just curious if there's an update on kind of his recovery and if maybe there's been any conversations about what his future could look like.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing really well in his recovery. Talking to Owen Stanley, our athletic trainer, he's been, he's been in the building quite a bit. Now that he's past the early stages of the repair, now it's about hard work. I don't know that he's made that final decision. I know he's weighing the options, and clearly we would love to have him back. But we know that, those decisions are not easy. We'll support him in whatever he decides and provide him all the resources necessary to make the best decision for him and his family.
You mentioned the job DJ did and Will. What went right in the run game? Was it that as well as just winning those one-on-one battles between a running back and a linebacker safety?
Well, I think the quarterback, it starts with the quarterback. The ability to get us the favorable looks that gave the offensive line, the numbers, right? where we could run combination blocks, where we could get leverage, where we could get some of the things necessary to have, a more consistent running game. And it starts with the quarterback, quite frankly. When you're in a one-back offense, you have to be able to do that. And I thought Garrett was outstanding. It was his best game by far. And look, you call a run play, the numbers aren't right, the ball goes out to an Aaron Anderson. He's going to make 2 or 3 people miss. That's really a run call. But the numbers weren't right. We're out on the perimeter. When they were right, we were able to run the football up into favorable numbers. And now those guys can effectively do the things that they're coached to do. Pull, gap, combination block, leverage. And we saw that on display in its best form against Vanderbilt.
Hey, Coach, after the game, you said you only used a handful of coverages on defense, and you ran the same pass play a couple of times. What was the thinking early in the week about simplifying things, maybe?
I think it went with the whole theme of what the week was about, and that was players taking ownership and coaches putting our players in the best position to succeed. So we didn't have execution mistakes. And as I think we all know, sometimes in my career, I've always looked at if there's a lot of mistakes, there might be too much information. You might be doing a little bit too much. So we simplified some things, felt like we put our players in a really good position to succeed. And sometimes what goes hand in hand with that is simplifying some things.
Now, obviously, you can't talk about recruits by name, but y'all have taken a quarterback in each of the last 2 classes. Now that you don't have one committed, just kind of what's your plan at that position over the next few cycles, maybe, to build on that spot?
Yeah, I think we'll always look at taking a quarterback each year, and we'll most likely take a quarterback again this year. We look at the calendar year a little bit differently than just, December. We have a February signing period. We have a transfer portal. So we'll continue to look at that and see how that best fits our roster. But I can tell you this, that the overall roster is much more important than one particular position. As much as we want to take a quarterback at this position, I think what's more important is the overall health of the roster. And so if it ends up being that we do take a quarterback, that's great. But I think our eye is on the strength of the entire roster.
Couple of tidbits to take from that. LSU simplifying the offense. Let me tell you, folks, you better get rid of it quickly. If you hadn't seen Oklahoma play defense the last 3 or 4 games, Danny Stutzman is the best linebacker in the country. They're going to be blitzing. Got to dink and dunk. Got to get rid of it quickly. Got to protect the quarterback. And as we alluded to, final regular season, BK 14-1 in Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night, and they have an opportunity to finish the regular season 8-4. Back to wrap up with a little bit of Saints talk in Taysom Hill right here on another edition of Tigers Roar, right here on Pelican Sports TV.
Taste the feeling.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats. The flavor says it all.
It's game time at Team Toyota. Whether you're tailgating or heading into the stadium, dominate the road and drive like a champion in your new Toyota. Get off the sidelines and save thousands at Team Toyota, I-12 at O'Neill. Toyota, official vehicle of the New Orleans Saints.
Caught spiders? Premier Pest Services.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
Buddy Songy back with our final segment on this Tuesday afternoon. Couple days before Thanksgiving, once again, all of us, Pelican Sports Radio, TV, the whole 9 yards, hoping you and yours with a blessed weekend. JP, before we get into Taysom Hill and the Saints talk, Georgia is already in the SEC championship game. The winner of A&M and Texas goes to be the opponent. You and I were talking during the break. Doesn't look like the 4 or 5 that we thought might be in the CFP. Looks like the SEC might be limited to 3, Georgia, Texas, and of course Tennessee. But if A&M beats them and then goes to the SEC championship game and beats Georgia, then you really have a mess, JP.
Yeah, the tiebreaker scenario for Texas A&M making the SEC championship is a nightmare. Lots of layers to it, but man, SEC, so much parity this season. A gauntlet, a true gauntlet to get through. Everybody beating up on each other, which, everybody always talked about that being the SEC, and that's the case, but certainly prevalent this season.
Good that we don't have the sunglasses on. LSU gets off the snide. Also, the Saints with a couple of wins in an open date. JP, let's get right into it. Taysom Hill, just how valuable is this guy? And he is, no doubt, the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, but man, we're just going to take some time to appreciate Taysom Hill on this episode of Tigers Roar, show you all of his touchdowns from the season. There is not another player in the NFL that does all the things that Taysom Hill could do. It's not just a skill set, but man, it's a desire to want to actually execute different positions. I mean, they have good athletes in the NFL, obviously. If it was just being an athlete, you see more teams trying to make their best athlete into a Swiss Army knife like Taysom Hill. But all the roles he plays for the Saints, you talk about in the quarterback position, the wide receiver, the tight end, the halfback. He's the personal punter protector. He runs down on special teams. He's a kick returner. So valuable for the New Orleans Saints. And really the emotional leader, I believe, since Drew Brees left, has been Taysom Hill. Not a lot of publicity. Doesn't do it out in the spotlight, not in the limelight, but the team absolutely loves him. You see him truck somebody, they all get fired up. So just going to show you some appreciation touchdowns for one Taysom Hill.
Well, and look, folks, he's been banged up with injuries, but there's no doubt when Taysom Hill is playing, him and Kamara are the bell cow guys, and everybody knows what he's going to do here.
Right.
JP, I don't think people realize watching just how big a man this is. When you see him in person, he is legitimate 230 pounds, and it is all muscle.
And, Budman, I want to see him rush the quarterback. Get him some defensive snaps for the Hoodats. He's done everything else. Let him rush the quarterback.
I know you're being facetious, but he's such an important part of the Saints. Hey, look, I get this question all the time, and your opinions of the job Darren Rizzi's done as the interim coach, and Kathy and other people want to know, is he a legitimate candidate? I know he'll get an interview, but is that a courtesy interview, or does he have a legitimate chance to get the head job if they continue to win football games?
Well, if they continue to win, it has to be a legitimate interview. Now 2-0, the New Orleans Saints under their interim coach, Darren Rizzi, longtime NFL guy who's truly a leader of men. Lots of respect around the league. There wasn't a player or coach in the building that didn't think Rizzi was going to be named interim head coach. And he has this team firing on all cylinders, playing hard. They're finally getting some health on the offensive line to open up some holes for Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara. You see the touchdowns that came against the Browns. To answer your question, Bud, man, do I think he's a legitimate candidate? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to be the coach for the New Orleans Saints next year? No, I do not.
All right, we're giving you an array of all of the touchdowns that Taysom Hill has had this year. And my goodness, are you kidding me? This is going to be about 80 yards. I don't remember this one, but that was against the Brownies. And, he's faster than people think. What do you think his legitimate 40 time is now? 4.5?
I think right now he's up to close to a 4.5. But I think the first year he popped on the scene with the Saints, he was running, no doubt, a 4.4. He might have lost a step in year 9 here with the Houdats, but still, you see the speed. Once he gets to the outside, he can break it. Bud, man, not enough appreciation for number 7 and all the things he's been able to do. It is a truly special player.
I'm showing my age. We don't talk in terms of 4.4 or 4.5 anymore. It's 20 or 21 or 22 miles an hour. And I don't know how we segued into that, but I guess everybody can relate to it. I mean, if you're going 22 miles an hour on Airline Highway, that's how fast some of these really guys are running. And JP, one thing about it, Taysom Hill's not superstitious. That number 7's been a nasty number for LSU as far as luck goes, but not for Taysom Hill and the Saints.
Yeah, and Bud, man, while we have a couple extra minutes here at the end of the show, I want to thank you all for tuning into this episode of Tigers Roar. If you missed any of this show, go to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. It's a great way to keep up with everything we do here at the Pelican. While you're at the page, click the like, notification, and subscription button if you haven't done so already, and leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you guys. Let us know how we're doing. We like to interact with the viewers right there at youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. And one final thought on the week of Thanksgiving, Bud, man, I know you're a Christian, and I consider myself to be Christian as well. The Thanksgiving spirit, it doesn't require a holiday. Each day we can choose to be thankful for the grace and the love that God has given us through his son, Jesus Christ. So just choose to be thankful each and every day, but certainly enjoy this upcoming Thursday with your friends and your family and all that great food watching football.
Hey, great stuff as always. Look, I say it 10 times a day. Jesus, I trust in you. If you don't believe in God, you better be right. Ed Buggs, the legendary brother of Clarence Buggs, always used to say that. So look, from a spiritual standpoint, from a competitive standpoint, from a fun standpoint, enjoy this final game of the year. Saints are going to have the late game in the Dome, hosting the Rams at 3:05. LSU hosting Oklahoma. First time ever those two teams have met in the regular season. Listen, the last time you saw LSU play Oklahoma, it was Justin Jefferson with 4 touchdowns in the first half, and Joe Burrow lighting them up for 6 touchdowns on the game. It could have been 100 to whatever it ended up, but they laid off the pedal. This is going to be a competitive game, probably come down to a field goal. Support your Tigers. Show up to Tiger Stadium. Once again, have your hot chocolate and your blankets. And as always, as Jonathan said, we do appreciate all of you out there. Have a happy, blessed, and merry Thanksgiving and holiday season. See you in a couple weeks, everybody, on Tigers Roar on Pelican Sports TV.